Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome back to some people, and I can see some new faces here as well. It's been a while since we've done any of these, and today I thought I would challenge myself and do it all myself, rather than have any of the other wonderful Make Music Your Life coaches on. Since I last did one of these live on YouTube, a lot has happened at Make Music Your Life. We've moved almost all of the stuff that we do to live workshops. Not all of it, but almost all of it. So we're now running a live automatic music machine class. There's a live mastery class, which is an ongoing thing as well. And we're doing other live workshops. So what I thought I would do, and it all started really with, where do things start? It all started with the Big Bang. But in terms of the particular subject area that we're talking about, it all started really with Momentum Mondays, which we were still doing at this time last year, I think. That kind of made me realize that I really wanted to do lots of live stuff. And that really kind of fitted with who I am. I've just realized I haven't turned on my Speedify. There we go. Make sure we have it's bonding my internet connections to make sure we have a steady internet connection. So I realized that I'm essentially a live person at heart, and the wonders of modern technology now mean that instead of doing recorded programs all the time, we can do live and recorded programs. So here we are, with a few technical difficulties along the way. So you'll have to forgive me if any of those continue. I think we're okay, because what we are doing now is we're going to do some, I hesitate to call it planning. Planning kind of feels a bit boring. It's more exciting than that. It's visioneering, shall we call it. It's looking forward to the year ahead. And in order to do that, we need to look into the distant future and think about what we really want. Because I'm going to do 3 of these live workshops, same day, same time, this week, next week, and the week after, in order to help you get clear on what you're going to do in 2022 to make it the very best year of your musical life. Now, I say that every year because ideally, although this is highly unlikely to happen, but ideally, every year would be the very best year of your musical life because you'd be growing and progressing all the time. I mean, I'm sure in some ways it is. Even if you've had a massive break, maybe that was exactly what you needed. So this isn't all about like grinding. We're not about grinding here. This isn't all about, just going for it all the time. This is about making strategic, informed, thought through choices about what we want to do in the coming year. And it could be that what you want to do in the coming year is just chill out a bit, in which case that's fine too. I practice a thing that I do called leveraged laziness, because even though I do a lot, there's a lot I don't do. It might seem that I do loads, but there's a lot I don't do because at heart, I'm a bit lazy. Between you and me, I like to do things the easy way rather than the hard way. And one of the ways of making things way easier is by doing this kind of thing quite early on at the start of December. It's basically impossible to do around the crazy festive period. So let's do it now. Get clear what we're going to do. Let the back brain do its processing while we're, woo, happy Christmas, all that kind of stuff. And so we're ready to hit the ground running in 2022. I was about to say 2021. We're not in 2021, are we? Well, we are, but we're not. We're at the end of it. Anyway, talking of 2021, right now in the chat, let me know what your biggest music win of 2021 has been. And you're not allowed to say, there wasn't one, because there will be. There will be a win. okay? Because the reason I'm asking you to do this is that in order to succeed in anything at any point, what you have to do first is notice where you already are or where you already have. My little saying is, if at first you don't succeed, first notice where you already have. Not quite the same as what my mum told me, which was, if at first you don't succeed, try, try, try again. But I actually think before you start trying, notice where you already have succeeded. So in the chat, what's your biggest music win in 2021? Coach Luke on the other side, not behind the fourth wall, in front of the fourth wall, releasing a track a week. Well done, Luke. Luke was the one of me, Arash, and Luke who actually continued doing that. So Luke gets the prize, the gold star. Mark, I released my first single. Well done, Mark. That's awesome. How did that feel? Probably like, oh, that's amazing. And then, is that it? Oh, all right then. Suppose I'll do another one. But well done, Mark. That's a big win. Also had 100 splurge week. Absolutely amazing. I love those 100 splurge challenges. Okay. Oh, it's wonderful to see so many friendly faces here. Son of a preacher, Tom. Hello, Tom. 2021 win. I just got 3 tracks signed to labels for the first time. I haven't got my sound effects here, but anyway, just a big round of applause. Ro, my first releases were made in 2021. Brilliant. So Tom and Ro are both masters, and Steve. 100 consecutive daily live streams, biggest win. Brilliant. Yeah, my biggest win of 2021 is I didn't stop live streaming. I've done it every single day since March the 9th. So I continue going even through moving house from a nicely appointed bedroom into this shed. And so I live streamed even a shed without a door for a while. Did a little series of live streams called One Piano in a Shed sessions. Yeah, doorless and doorless. So anyway, so Steve, Tuma, Charlie, back after a long break, started weekly IG thing, which evolved to week daily streaming. I wonder what that means. Sounds great though. John, lost it. Came back from decades-long hiatus. Fantastic. I think that might be from the leap, is it? Brilliant. Ivan Costals, big win was starting to work with the music library and having 4 tracks signed with him. Brilliant. Tim finished 100 tracks, released 5 albums. Boo-hoo. Wow. This is what we do in these parts. This is what we do at Make Music Your Life. We make music. And we also your life. Rob, 2021, I'd say send almost falling together by itself. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds wonderful. Naif. Hello, Naif. Not heard from you for a while. Managed to set up a mobile studio. I've had to relocate back to the UK. Also released music for sync licensing. Yeah, Naif, you've had a tricky time with the pandemic, getting stuck here and there and everywhere, haven't you? David of the Blakes. Hello, David. Finally released a number of songs in my own name after 20 years in bands. Now, that's a big one. I, fairly early on in my career, had the safety of being in a band, and we did really, really well, which was a very difficult thing, actually, because then when I went out on my own, it took me ages to get over it. So that's a big one, David. Well done. Julien, finished 4 tracks I was stuck on since 2 years, thanks to the automatic music machine. Boom! In your face, stuck music. Take that. Cornell produced 2 new albums for clients. Fantastic. Matthew starting a remix contest and having a blast releasing the best tune I ever did. Wow, there's been a lot of great stuff going on. Well done, everyone. Okay, so what are we going to do today? What we're going to do today is we're actually not so much going to focus on 2022 exactly. We're actually going to focus on the bigger picture And it might be a picture that's so big that it's almost bigger than you can imagine. Well, not that you can imagine, otherwise you wouldn't be able to imagine it. but bigger than you expect is possible. Okay, because I think what we do as human beings is we confuse probability with possibility. If something we think is highly improbable, and even if I say to myself that is highly improbable, that doesn't make it impossible. And what we think is if something is highly improbable, then it's impossible. And what that does is it constricts our minds. It creates, I mean, limitations are great, but it creates unhelpful limitations because in setting goals and in planning what we want to do, which is really important, what we want to do for ourselves, for other people, for the world, for our families, for our friends, for everyone, how we want to contribute, we have to think in terms of what is possible, not what is probable. Because if you think in terms of what's probable, where does it end up? You end up being stuck doing the same thing and getting very frustrated. So we're going to go, okay? So everyone do that right now. Okay? Seriously, do it now. There you go. Done. See you later. No, we're actually going to focus on your ideal situation in 3 different areas because here at Make Music Your Life, in case you're not familiar, we've kind of chunked what you need to do to build a successful music career, whatever success means for you. We've chunked it into 3 M's. Mike, Monday is marvelous. No, joke. Music, money, and mindset. And I'll explain what each of these mean because it's not, money isn't just about money. It's and honestly, I don't think I'm marvelous, but music is fairly obvious. Okay, so music is about your music, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to focus on the ideal situation for your music, and by way of celebration, I'm going to change my background to something more musical. What do you think about that? Ooh, yeah, boogieing on. Right, so we're going to do some free writing. Now, if you've not done free writing before, it might feel a little bit, woo, but I want you to let yourself do it, okay? Because it is truly a game changer. Anyone who has done free writing, please, can you just post in the chat saying how it has helped you? And particularly somebody who maybe was skeptical about it at first, that would be great. Because one of the things that free writing allows you to do is kind of get beyond all of that thinky stuff, the stuff that you're aware of, and access all of the stuff, well, not all of the stuff, some of the stuff you're unaware of, okay? Because especially in the modern world with all of the distractions like YouTube, this isn't a distraction, is it? Oh, and by the way, now I talk of YouTube, could you hit the like button? That would be really helpful. Thank you. So, yeah, but with all the distractions, social media, YouTube, all of that kind of stuff, with that, we tend to eclipse our what we want with all of this external stuff. So by free writing, and it's about not thinking, it's about just letting stuff come out, either into your fingers if you're typing, or actually writing, letting all this stuff come out and actually accessing various things that you maybe weren't aware of that you actually want. Okay, it's not just about what you want; it's about other things as well. It's about problem solving too. But in this case, what we're trying to get to is a kind of pure, unfettered. Okay, so this is what I want, and you know what? You are allowed to decide what you want. In fact, without knowing what you want, you won't get what you want. You'll get what you don't want. You're very, very reliably. Okay, so this is about understanding what you want. It's not about, putting yourself on a pedestal. It's not about kind of thinking you're the best thing in the world. It's not about any of that. It's simply about figuring out what you want. Okay, but not really figuring it out in this case. That comes later. It's about finding out what you want. Okay. So in free writing, what you do is you write without thought. You just let it come out. If you've seen The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, it's a bit like Morning Pages, but it's a bit more directed than that. So I'm going to ask you a question and you're just going to write. No editing. You just let your fingers do the work. Okay. It doesn't need to make sense. It can be nonsense. You're not allowed to stop. You've got to go as quickly as possible. So if you're familiar with my splurging methodology, it's like that, but for writing. In fact, it's even more splurgy. You just go, and it doesn't matter if it's nonsense. Okay. Uh, yeah, absolutely no focus on what it is you're saying. Just say it. So you could, go, green bananas are brilliant. And the other day I went down to the shop and did a blah, and sometimes it can end up not being about the actual topic in hand, but you will occasionally hit these moments when you talk about that. And that's where the magic happens. The other thing that will happen is you will go blank at times. Just write the last word that you wrote, yeah, until you get beyond that, because the gold is beyond the blank. Okay? All right. So is everybody ready? Okay. Cool. What I want you to do, and I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this for you, right? I'm going to set a timer. And I want you to imagine an ideal future, yeah, for yourself where you are making the very best music you could possibly imagine in every possible way. The best music that you could possibly imagine. Yeah? So it's completely unique. It's incredibly high quality, whatever quality it means to you. Okay. And the next 5 minutes, I want you to free write and describe your music. Describe your music as if it was the best you could possibly imagine. Even if that seems impossible now, describe your music as if it was the best you could possibly imagine. Free write, don't stop, just let it all come out. I'm going to give you 5 minutes on the timer. What would it sound like? What would it have in it? Keep writing. Don't stop. If you go blank, just keep writing the last word. Write anything. Okay, you can stop. So, post in the chat any insights that you got from that free write. Bear in mind that in the workshop today, we're going to be doing a lot of this kind of very wide visioning. There's going to be less of the kind of now zeroing in on exactly what we're going to do, but you're going through these processes now, and sort of opening your mind to what you actually want, what your kind of real sort of hopes and dreams are, is how you build a plan. I mean, if you just do it based upon the last, well, apart from this one, last YouTube video you saw, you're just going to end up buying a lot of gear, right? So, but or on something that you just heard on the radio or something, something like that. Whereas what we're doing here is we're tuning into what we want internally, what we actually want internally, and we don't, I don't think we invest enough time in doing this. I don't think I was ever taught to do this at school, for instance, and I think it's incredibly important. In fact, I don't think I know it. So, what insights did you get? So Tim says, post in the chat, what insights did you get? It seems I want to use lyrics for the first time ever. Yes. You will find sometimes things popping up that you didn't realize you wanted. Charlie, collabs with rappers, something I haven't thought about before. There you go. Brilliant. Any other insights you got from this music free write? Cornell. Let's move this up to just move this out of the way. See if I can get these somewhere you can see them. About this, I've not done this for a while. The YouTube workshop thing. Okay, I've been doing it on Zoom usually. Cornell, I want to create music. There's a ton of complexity, but at the same time, it's really easy to listen to and get the point. Complexity is not random. It all serves a purpose. Right. Amazing booking with a lot of fans who want my music to feel good. All right. So, Bart, this was about your music, your actual music, not about the external stuff. We're coming to that. Okay. So after this, do another free write about the sound of your music, not what you want to get out of your music. We're focusing on the music itself in this one. Okay. So if anyone's done that, if anyone's focused on, the external stuff, what you're going to get out of it, that's going to come later. Yeah. For now, we're just talking about our actual music. What do you want it to sound like? What does it want to be like? Like, what does it want to express? What are the instruments you're going to use? What's it going to be? Yeah. XZCHC, first time I connect music with pictures of landscapes. Brilliant. Tom, insight. It seems I want to become more of a songwriter as well as a producer to tell stories. There you go. it's funny when you do this free writing, you start saying things like, "It seems I want to do that." Or, I didn't realize that. This is the power of free writing. Yeah. Often, what will happen is if you're not actually aware of what you want, what you end up doing is sabotaging yourself and not realizing why. It's because you're not doing what you want. You're doing what you think you should do. Yeah. One little thing to do over the next year, see if you can always replace should, the word should, with want to or could. Okay. It's a game changer. So, um, Brian, confirmation of the values and intentions I have had for my music. All right, Brian, I'm not saying that those are wrong at all. They may well be exactly right. One of the things that often indicates for me is if I just go, yeah, no, just confirms what I want, is that I wasn't free writing. Okay. I mean, it's not always the case, so that's why I'm being a bit, but if everything that you've written is what you expect, then it's likely to be the case that you're not actually free writing. Okay. So just, yeah, keep up with the free writing. It's a practice. Blinds, I seem to be describing my current music with more clarity. That sounds like you're not free writing too, if you're describing your current music. Or maybe you're free writing on your current music rather than your future music. Yeah, because, I mean, I'm willing to bet that everyone in the world, even the greatest musicians, the reason that they're great is because their music isn't what they want it to be right now. Their music now isn't what they want it to be. Okay, brilliant. So let's keep moving forward. And we're going to do it again. And this time, we're going to do it with the money section. Okay. Now we have to do this. So what money means, money doesn't just mean money. Okay. It's not just money. Money is basically not the music. It's the stuff that happens as a result of the music. So money would include getting signed to labels, for instance, or starting your own label. It's the business side of things. It's also building the audience. It's also, connecting with your fans. All of that stuff is in the money section. Okay. And the reason we call it money is because money begins with an M. And music begins with an M as well. So it's the three M's and it's easy to remember. Okay, so it's not just because all we want is money. Although, I like money. But it's because we need a way of splitting these things up. Okay. So once again, we're going to do a free write, and I want you to imagine an ideal future for yourself. Almost impossible, maybe, ideal future. As long as it doesn't defy the laws of physics, you're all good. Okay. I want you to imagine your ideal music career as if it was the best you could possibly imagine, but beyond probably possibility. Okay. Probably possibility beyond what you think is possible now. Okay. So I want you to free write on your ideal music career as if it was beyond the best you could possibly imagine, even if this seems possible now. Describe it, actually live it, write down what you're doing, what is happening, what has happened, what you've achieved, where you failed, who you're with, all of that. Okay. So I want you to start this one. 5 minutes starting now. In this ideal future, who are you with? What are you doing? What have you done? Where have you played? Who for? All right. Time is up. And insights in the chat. Let's find out what you found out. If you're not used to doing this kind of thing, either both free writing and thinking about what you really want, it can seem a bit weird and a bit like, "Ooh, am I allowed to do this? Why am I doing this?" But trust me, like it's such a it's such a valuable thing to do, to get really clear on the kind of what you want without fear, without kind of judgment, without feeling what you should do, without um, thinking whether something is possible. Because you are allowed to think what about things which are impossible and use that almost as a well, not almost as a tool to decide which direction to go in. Because at the end of the day, goals are tools; they're not reality. Yeah, they're thoughts, and treating them as if they are reality, I believe, is a fundamental mistake. I did a coaching uh, qualification, and a lot of my teachers would disagree with me. My coaching teachers would disagree with me on this, but I would go back to my coaching academy, and I would have a very spirited discussion with them about the downsides of realistic goals, because goals are not real. Goals are thoughts, goals are directions. So let's think about not what's probable, but what's possible. Yeah. Which probably means what you think is it's impossible for you, depending on the kind of person you are. Okay. Um, you know, the definition of impossible, I think, for most people is that it's not probable. Okay. Which is why I say impossible. Okay. My definition of impossible is something that defies the laws of physics. So me sprouting the wings and flying to the moon is impossible in my book. But me becoming the world's greatest music producer, whatever the heck that means, that strikes me as being highly, I mean, almost improbable, where it's near impossible. But it is possible, right? So yeah. Um, so Julien. I do collaborations with Damon Albarn, Jar of the Jean Michel kind, I presume, Michael Rother, and Thomas Bangalter. Brilliant. Tuma, the movement. Cornell, I want to have 10 to 15 super dedicated production clients, and that's all I need to have a solid business. Okay. Cornell, that is definitely not a that's a realistic goal. That's well, not the purpose of this free ride. Yeah, that sounds like settling. Yeah. So, like, it's okay. You don't have to. There's no downside to imagining the the crazy big stuff. I'm not. You're not being greedy. I mean, I'm not saying that that's why you haven't done this, but you're. It's like that is too realistic for this exercise. The point of this free writing exercise is to think about, right, if I couldn't fail, if anything, if I could do anything, if I had all the resources, what would I want? Okay. It's important that you get that. So maybe after this, do another one thinking in those terms. Okay. Um, Rob, 20 plus albums released, signed to, flying none. I don't know why you're squinting suspiciously at your coffee. Maybe you should be, you want to be squinting suspiciously at me. But own spacecraft and invite people, especially fans who want to come. Wow. Even artists who I work with to come and celebrate the success. Love and joy. I get a lot of bookings on other aircraft. Michael Klaus realized I want to grow my record label and personal music output to the point where I will need to hire a team member or two to help run things and ship out orders. Now, that sounds like, again, that might seem just into your stretch zone, but is that everything? That sounds like something that you could do at the end of next year. We're talking about your ideal future. Yeah. I mean, it might be hard to do it by the end of next year, but it's very close to where you are now, I presume, by the sounds of it anyway. Pivot. I will finish my album from tracks to visuals. Again, is that, I mean, you can finish your album in the next few months, I'm sure. Yeah? We're talking about your ideal future. Okay? Like an ideal future that you might think is impossible. See, are you noticing a pattern here? A lot of people are contracting, are limiting themselves to what they think is probable. Yeah. Goals don't have to be realistic. It's like they are tools, and one of the ways that they help us is by allowing us to see what we want. And you're allowed to say what you want and then not get it. Right? Because really, the real value of goals is in giving you the ability to move forward, and then the joy, the motivation, the love, the contribution that we make is in the process, not in hitting the goal. The goal is just a tool. Yeah. So we don't want to be like, oh no, but if I don't do this, then I can't say it, because if I say it and then don't do it, then I failed. Fail. Set a ridiculous goal, move towards it, and then enjoy the process of solving the problems to move towards it. That's so much of a better way of using goals. Trust me. I've tried to use realistic goals. I'm a coach for crying out loud. And they're all right for figuring out what you're going to do next week. Yeah? Okay. Fine. That's fine. For this kind of thing, come on. Open up. Brilliant. Right, let's move forward. And in the final section, we are in the mind section of the 3 M's. Okay. And what mind is like anything which isn't music and isn't money. Yeah. So isn't music and isn't the business and the tribe building and all of that stuff, the team and all that stuff. That's money. Mind is your behaviors, your skills, your habits, your beliefs, your approaches, what you do, how you do it, how you think, yeah, how you use time, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So what we're going to do now is another free write, another 5-minute free write, and thinking about those 2 things that you've said, music and the money, your ideal future. Yeah, and bear in mind those who haven't focused on their ideal future, instead have just focused on what they can do in the next few months, or maybe a more probable future. Do those last 2 free writes again, thinking about possibility, not probability. Probability is a scam anyway. But anyway, so thinking about your ideal future in music and money. For those things to happen, you're going to free write on this. For those things to happen, how would you have to change? How would you have to change? What skills would you need? What habits would you need? What behaviors would you need to change? What beliefs would you need to change? What approaches would you need to change? And if in this free write you're saying, well, I wouldn't need to change anything, that means that your music and your money free write, you've not followed the instructions. Okay. Yeah. Because this is how we're going to focus, how we're going to figure out what to do in 2022 is by thinking about how we need to change to get that impossible situation going. Yeah. Whether we get it or not. Again, we're using goals as tools. Okay. So for those which is actually improbable things to happen, how would you have to change? Skills, habits, behaviors, beliefs, approaches, perspectives. Free write. Starting now. All right. Type in the chat any insights you got here about how you would need to change in order to make those impossible things a reality. So Ryan had a great question. He said, what if your end goal isn't so huge? And the first thing I think to say about that question, it's a great question. The first thing to say about that question is the very idea of an end goal is to be questioned, which is another reason why we're doing this. Is like what is an end goal? And if we just think about things in terms of end goals, when we get to the end goal, we realize it's just another beginning, right? I was listening to something yesterday, and they were saying, what is it about parenting where the purpose of a good parent to a baby is to make sure that the toddler is happy, is well, and the purpose of good parenting for a toddler is to make sure that the child is well, and then the good purpose of the child is to make sure that the teenager, and it's like it's just this endless hedonic treadmill of end goals which aren't actually end goals. Yeah. So what we're doing here is kind of making it impossible, and that is pointing to the fact there is no end goal. The end goal is to progress, which isn't a goal. It's a process. Okay. So if your end goal isn't so huge, then free write to discover something that is, right? Because this is the process that we're using to get clear on what we're going to do in the short term. Okay. Dennis, balance is key. Ooh, the word balance is one I have a problem with. I won't go into that now, but cool. If that's what came up for you. Great. Be nice to know. I wouldn't. Yeah, but good to have a conversation with you about what you mean by balance. I don't think balance is wrong. I just think it can lead to all sorts of unfortunate things. But obviously, I don't know. There's not enough information there for me to know what you mean by it. So it could well be a great thing to have written. Costals, I start my day by working out. Tim, gain massive confidence and self-assurance. Add them to. There we go. Carl, ideal. Better organization and discipline. Discipline! Eliminate time and energy killers as much as possible. All right, yeah. So what would you do if you didn't have to use discipline, is what I would say there. I don't use discipline. I think discipline is highly overrated. Lots of stuff to get better at. That's right. What's interesting there, Charlie, is you go, oh, if I go, and again, I used to do the same thing too. I'm like, great, lots of stuff to get better at. What would you have to change about your approach in order to have that reaction? Oh, great, there's loads of stuff to get better at, rather than, oh, there's loads of stuff to get better at. Jonah, I need to become more serious. Oh, okay, Jonah, you need to become more serious about honing my musical and visual design skills and work on adapting a more fearless mindset. Yes, that doesn't shy away from the opinions of others. Excellent. You'll notice what I'm commenting upon is a particular stance towards progress, right? Which is, I need to become more serious, or oh, I've got lots, or I need more discipline. What would have to happen? Yeah, how would you have to change what you do in order for a lazy person to get that kind of success? Now, that is a thought experiment question. I'm not saying it's possible, right? But that is a good question to ask. That would be a good free write to do, because this discipline, utilize, forward, try harder, thing comes from the way that we've been taught. And I can guarantee you, I can promise you that is not the most effective way to do impossible things. I'm not saying that we don't have to work hard. We do. I'm not saying that we don't have to change things. I mean, that's the whole point of doing this, right? But this idea that we have to beat ourselves into submission in some way or become more serious? How about become more light-hearted about honing my musical and visual design skills? How about that? Um, Blinds, getting back into a routine that works for me and encourages me to make more music. All the good things will grow and emanate from that small act. That's a great, yeah, well done. Brilliant. Love it. So that is focusing on the process. Brilliant. Brian, trust in my ideas. More stop my limiting beliefs. Okay. So I'm not sure about stopping beliefs, maybe replacing them, maybe a different way of thinking about that. I know I am a powerful creator. Yes, of course you are. We all are. And to follow through with that belief. Yeah, okay. So it's about replacing that belief, isn't it? Um, why, thank you, the my manji. Um, Dennis, with balance, I mean not be in the studio all the time, but take care of your mind as well. Okay. So one of the reasons I have a problem with the word balance in lots of situations. So I don't have a problem with balance itself. Okay. Um, I think one of the problems I have with the word balance, so one of my least favorite phrases is work-life balance, because what can happen is that it ends up becoming another reason that we're not balanced. It's like, oh my God, I'm meant to have a work-life balance. I'm failing. It's another place where we can fail. And the other problem with balance is often that we end up doing, I mean, I'm not saying you do this, Dennis, by any measure, but it's like we end up half-assing everything. Okay. So I attempt not to be balanced when I'm doing everything. I attempt to go into everything with almost like obsession and then stop and then move over here and do that with like, yeah, I'm not balanced when I'm doing it. And that's why I understand taking time away from the thing, absolutely. But there are other words that you could use to describe it. I think it's just the problem I have with the word balance is that it can end up it's almost like it has other meanings. Yeah. Although the intention behind what you said sounds absolutely great. And I do think actually the words that we use to describe what we're doing are really important, which is why I'm always talking about language. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for today. It is going to continue next week with the next stage of this annual targeting process. We've not even talked about 2022 yet. We've talked about the big, impossible future. Okay. Yeah. If you've if you've not got much out of your free writes, that means you need to do them again. And think it's almost like think thoughts you've not thought before, or allow the thoughts to come that you've not thought before, which is like, well, if I could do literally anything and there wasn't any possibility I could fail and had all the resources available to me, well, then what would I want? Just give yourself permission. I'll give you permission if it makes any difference. But give yourself permission to have those thoughts, yeah, and let them come out on the paper, and then think, well, how do I need to change, yeah, in order to make that impossibility more of a possibility, yeah. And the next steps for you before this time next week are to, number one, do the scorecard, and the links are in the description. They might not be right now because I did it after you joined, so you might have to refresh once this live stream is finished. So refresh the page. I'm going to leave up the live stream, so refresh the page. There's a link to the scorecard. If you've done it already, no worries, but do the scorecard because it actually gets you much clearer. It's, on the 9 areas that you want to make sure are sorted in order to do much better in music. So do the scorecard if you've not done it already. Again, the link might not be there until you refresh the page, okay, because I forgot about it and just added it in the middle when you were doing a free write, okay? So do the scorecard. In the description as well, there are the links for the 2 other workshops. Click the second one and click remind for that. It will be at the same time next week. And I now have a team meeting, so I'm going to go to that. And in one of the later workshops, we will do questions. But for now, I will love you and leave you, and just that that kind of thinking that thinking kind of just kind of let it perpetuate in your mind. Yeah, let it just steep your brain in this possibility thinking about, not thinking about, oh no, I haven't got this, I haven't got that, I can't do this, I can't do the other. Think about, well, if I could, what would I do? What would I want to do? How would I want to proceed? Trust me, it really, really makes an enormous difference to how much clearer you are on your next steps, which is what we'll be doing in the next two workshops. So, with all that said, don't forget to click like, remind, do the scorecard, the links, and I will see you this time, well, not this time, an hour before now, next week for workshop 2 in our 2022 targeting. Onwards and upwards.